he would come and go. My mother was the devout. Her brother's the priest.
Okay.
So her side of the family, my grandmother was on that side much more religious than my father's side of the family. They lived close by in the city, so it was, a constant influx of great aunts and uncles coming over that were religious. So a lot of my memories, early memories, are going to church and going, dealing with the family members and whatnot. They have mandatory education that you go through. First you go through your first communion, and then in your high school years you go up through confirmation, which is basically to confirm your faith. I don't know much what you're confirming. I don't remember anybody asking me any questions. It was just more educating you, and then next thing you know, you're doing the ritual, and that's pretty much it. So I don't remember any choice in the matter. It was just kind of, that's what you do. You either do it so you don't want to make mom and dad look foolish. The creeds that they have never resonated with me. They never meant much. In fact, I remember reciting them and feeling quite awkward, saying them, like really struggling to memorize those creeds that they would put out, like the Apostles' Creed or the Nicene Creed. They were very labor-intensive to memorize them, and they shouldn't have been. They weren't that long compared to what I'm memorizing now. But I think there was definitely had some discord between those creeds. But I think when it comes to confirming my faith, it was purely a ritual. I was a daydreamer, and I can remember just being in a constant daydream mode, and not really worrying about these things. I don't want to give it the wrong impression. I wasn't studying. For sure, that would come later. Mm-hmm. And I would have to make many mistakes before I was looking for any spiritual truths in my life. But back then, it was more of an issue of pride to have an uncle that was a priest, and quite frankly, a get out of jail free card. Having a member of the family that was a priest and religious made me feel like, oh, it's kind of like a free pass.
A free
pass. The consequences will be lighter for the choices that I made
in life,
because I have this person that's my uncle, that's in my family, that's a religious leader. Right. So it was a complete mistake, of course, but that was the thinking at the time. It was nothing completely thought through. The only thing I would say that there was a lot of things about going to mass or all these different doctrines that felt a little bit unnatural to me. When I read the Quran for the first time, it was literally a revelation. It was very powerful. I couldn't put it down. I never read a book so fast.
Maybe.
Yeah, and and ever since that day, I remember the first couple months were hard because you have a lot of things that are very convenient in your life that you don't want to give up.
Sure.
And so there was a real deconstruction of life for a short time. It didn't matter how much I didn't want it to happen. It happened no matter what. Even if I was going to put it down, I couldn't ignore it anymore.
Sure.
I felt notified. I felt informed. Because I remember having conversations with my mother, and she'd be like, okay, it's time to go to church. I'd be like, I'd be in my angry way. I'd be like, well, I don't want to go. I can pray here. Why can't I pray in my room? Why do I got to go there? It's a very, I don't know if you've ever been to a Catholic Mass, but, it's very uniformed and very, very formal, and, just kneel here, sit here, put money in here. And, and you do this, and if you don't do it, then you're going to be in a lot of trouble. But no further explanation. I always believed in God. That was never an issue. It was the way that I was being told how to believe. It was never, I never had any thought ever of an absentee God. I always knew that, somebody's watching, and at certain times in my life, and when you're doing something that's wrong or good, So those things were never confused in my mind. That was relatively clear. I didn't see a lot of religious diversity. Yeah, I had a couple friends maybe that went to church, in my church, but I don't recall having it. It wasn't a requirement for being friends with them or anything like that. And the school that I went to was not a religious school, so it was secular, normal United States school, and religion had no part of it. I would definitely say I went astray out of the Catholic requirements to be a good Catholic. When it came to partying or drinking or any of it, it's not. I have no shame about that. It was a different time.
Sure.
Different time, and college is college. High school is high school, and then go to college. But I had a spiritual crisis in college. I felt a lot of anger there, and I felt suffocated. Left school after 2 years. Moved away. Moved to out west, Colorado. Lived in a dude ranch.
In a what, sorry?
A horse ranch.
Horse ranch.
I lived in the mountains in a cabin.
Okay.
For a good 6 months, a year, and I just had to get out. I felt everything had been orchestrated, and I hadn't put my voice forth. I hadn't made any choices. I had just done what I was supposed to do the whole time, to high school to college, and then when I realized that nobody was really paying attention or nobody really cared, I just decided to leave and go do something I wanted to do. I use the term of spiritual suffocation.
Mm.
You have this inside of you that wants to be exercised, and you can't exercise it in that life. There's too many restrictions, and you have to break away or run away, or sometimes you do it in a book, sometimes you do it physically, sometimes you can do it, in your own hometown. I had to get much farther away from that. I couldn't do it in a book, and I didn't have the patience at that time to do that. I had to get out, and I've always been more physically mobile anyway. I'd rather be running around and being having a studious side came later in my life. It was I had opportunity. I had somebody that was like, "Oh, I'm going to live in Colorado. You want to go?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, let's go." So I left school and went. And it's a beautiful place. I don't know if you've ever been there.
I haven't. No.
Oh, Colorado's awesome. Yeah, it's a great place. But it was the distance that mattered. It was the distance from the suffocation that I felt like I was going through. So the distance and the location was appealing to me. I think it was. I've never had too much trouble from my parents. They haven't given me too much trouble over the course of time. I think it was just my own actions. I think I just got sick of my own actions. Okay. I got sick of. And I'm not saying that things changed there either, right away, but it was a process of doing things on my own, and not dealing with the dictation that I felt was coming my way. At least I was doing my own thing. I ran out of money, so I came back home to Schenectady, and I would say that the beginning of the spiritual journey happened. I was basically just fed up with feeling like I hadn't done anything, and I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted or what I wanted out of it, and I hadn't decided on any one religion yet. Before I went to Islam, before I read the Quran, I had started studying ancient Egypt. Ancient Egypt, yeah, I was studying hieroglyphs, and that whole language system, which was interesting, quite interesting actually. I do graphic art, so I was studying their geometric principles, because they were quite good at it. And I was interested in their wall diagrams, because they were so precise and specific. I was studying that aspect of it, and at the same time studying ancient the hieroglyphs and how they constructed them and what they actually meant. And not that I wasn't worshiping them or anything like this. I was just studying the principles behind them. It's quite an ingenious language system. But and then from there, I decided to. I saw a lot of Christian archetypes. They have a lot of interesting deities there that symbolize or resemble Christian concepts. So then I had this crazy idea that some of those principles had carried over to Catholicism, and I was more thinking about it as a system of thought. There was nothing to take me over or to give me daily solace. It was just the work that was the solace, and I felt a lot of gratitude for that, because to organize yourself to really sit down and to work on something that over a long period of time I hadn't done before. I have done art projects in high school and whatnot, but this was more serious, and I was really developing something that I was enjoying, and that would have been the beginning. I would say I didn't have it before. I knew what I wanted. I just didn't know how to articulate it. I didn't know what it looked like. So I went back into Catholicism and investigated that and practiced it for some time. But some of the concepts I was never into completely. We're talking years, and not just showing up on Sunday, doing daily research and amassing library and
study research.
Sure, yeah, because if you could study, it's no wonder that there's so many Christians or Catholics that will never come out of it, and they will never come out of it because they don't have a reason to. They can't rationalize their way out of it because there's so many different mysteries. There's so many different things. You can research saints. You can research, martyrs. You can research the Trinity and try to wrap your brain around that and waste 15 years of your life. Or you can just blindly follow the Pope and do all that. You can pick any segment you want to and follow it, and you can still do good works, and you can still do good things and feel good about yourself. But really, when it came down to the introduction with the Quran, there was no comparison whatsoever. I had good friends. During this period of my life, I had two really great friends that we were researching together. So we were doing the group mentality and really bouncing a lot of ideas off of each other, and so a lot of things were not left to, like say I would come up with something or an interesting meditation, and it would be put at the grill, put on the fire and really tested to see if it's true, because if it's truthful, then it can't be corrupted, it can't be destroyed, and it can't be tarnished. It's an alchemical process. You can't tarnish it. That's why gold is so valuable. Gold is valuable because it doesn't corrode. It's worth money to us because you can't corrupt it. It doesn't rust. You put it in acid, you can dissolve it and bring it back. It never goes away. And that's why it's valuable. So we put that concept to the test, knowledge to the test. You know, you have to test knowledge. You can't just take it and say it is what it is because this person said so. You have to really investigate it and try to burn it up. And if it burns up, then it's not true. Yeah, it was by chance, really. My buddy Stan. We had been doing Catholic studies, and when I say Catholic study, we were studying all these different saints, and you're studying all these mysteries and esoteric books that you wouldn't believe, that were so convincing that you could read 5 times, 6 times, 7 times. But so one day he's like, it was pretty kind of funny story because he had got the Book of Mormon. He decided he wanted to read all these different religious texts. So so the next book was the Book of Mormon, which is a totally.
I was a Mormon.
You were a Mormon?
For about 6 months, yeah.
6 months?
Yeah.
Oh.
So I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. John Smith, huh? Yeah. So anyway, so he was going to read that, but he never actually read it. Instead, he got the Quran. So he was reading that. So I wasn't reading it at that time. He was reading it, and so he's reading this great book, and he's getting very agitated. On a daily basis, he's getting very agitated. And you come to us and say these things, start talking about it, and be like, listen, calm down, relax. And he was really agitated. He's like, listen, you got to read it. You got to read the book. I'm sorry, you got to read it. So after a week or two, I decided to sit down and read it, and I've never, like I said before, I've never sat down and read a book that fast. It was exceptional. Of all the religious texts that I read, I never read a book that was written in the first person. It was not speaking about something. It was not historical. It was not a historical document in the classic sense. It was not written by normal means. And that's apparent right off the bat. And when you have this book speaking directly to you, that's what it feels like. It's quite a different effect. And it's not like reading any other book. I've read enough to know that it's not a book written by a human being. It's the ultimate rational explanation for our existence. There is no doubt. There's no shame when it talks. There's no shame when it speaks to you. It's not afraid of anything. Like I said, it was so different. It had such a profound effect on my reading it that my life was started changing pretty immediately. If I wanted it to or not, it didn't matter. Even if I resisted it, it would still change it. It would still deconstruct it because I was already hearing it. Some people read it, I think, and then if they're not open, their hearts are sealed already. They don't want to hear it. They read it for the wrong reasons. Yeah. For whatever reason at the time, I was open to it. Whether you orientate yourself to the divine will or He does it for you, maybe they happen together. I don't know, but it's not. If your heart's open to it and you're really hearing what they're saying, then changing your life really, or not changing your life doesn't make any sense. Sure. It makes more sense to make those changes, even if they're hard, even if they take you out of your comfort zone, or it's going to happen. Good advice would be to be truthful and to follow that which is truthful. Well, it probably was only a month after I read it that I decided to go to mosque. I went to a Wahhabi mosque through the guidance of somebody else, but that's where I went first, and I converted at a Wahhabi mosque. It was quite intimidating, to be honest with you. Really? And yeah, it wasn't my cup of tea from the beginning. So after I did that, I never actually went back. There I did some more study on my own, and I disagreed with some issues, the way that they viewed the Prophet, peace be upon him, and the rest of his family. And I didn't believe that a perfect God would give his message to imperfect beings. It didn't sit right with me, and I just figured it had already been done. It had already been done in Christianity. giving the companions to Christ being not his family, being apostles around him, and then having the entire religion hijacked, in my opinion, by St. Paul. Later on, like 100 years later. Yeah. So that had already been done. It had already been tried and already been failed. And it made much more sense to me to leave it with your family. Absolutely. Yeah. It was definitely a joint venture to quickly go through all the texts. You know, it's a lot of information to digest, and it's not. You know, I'm not gonna say that it was all just reading and pure knowledge. It's not that way. I found the first time I went to the Shia mosque, it was much later. I found it much more inviting. You know, it was just it felt more natural to me. I've been Shia for almost 2 years. It's been wonderful. It's been wonderful. It's been enlightening. You know, it's been stressful too. You know, go through a lot of pains. You know, with your inside and you know, taking cues from your old life and you know, getting rid of them, shedding them. You know, making lifestyle changes. This is all very difficult. You know, but worth it.
لبيك اللهم لبيك
لبيك اللهم لبيك
لبيك لا شريك لك
لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك
إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك
لبيك اللهم